Happy Wednesday, everybody, and a lot to talk about today. There's a number of issues popping up in sports television, and let's begin with baseball. A wild, foursome yesterday, and we're going to see some interesting games today. All right, so it's basically the same setup as it was yesterday. Texas and Tampa Bay. That's going to lead things off on ABC at 3:08 first pitch. Okay, that'll be followed again by Toronto at Minnesota. That's on ESPN at 4:38. Okay, then we move to the National League, where tonight Arizona will get first pitch at 7:08 on ESPN2. Meanwhile, Miami is in Philadelphia at the Bank. That one is an 8:08 start. Now, all of these games, all four of them, can be heard on ESPN radio for free. And you just go on to the ESPN app and they'll guide you to the game that you wish to listen to. Okay, so you're going to have it covered on, and by the way, the ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, all that is streaming on the ESPN app. So if you have a cable service, you can do it that way. Now, if you do not have that and you want to watch the games, my suggestion would be because you could go to Sling TV and take a 7-day trial, and you would be able to get all of these games. Okay, so Sling TV 7-day trial, it's a very good opportunity. Okay, you may just even like it. So there you go. Again, this afternoon's baseball, Texas, Tampa Bay. That's an ABC game. Then we move over to ESPN for Toronto, Minnesota. Arizona and Milwaukee is ESPN2, and Miami and Philly closing out the evening. That's on ESPN. Okay? All right. Cool. Okay. Now, I know soccer fans, you're out there and you're going, okay, wait a minute. It's Wednesday night, and you're absolutely right. Apple TV has Charlotte and Toronto playing. That's a 7:30 game. Cincinnati against New York, Red Bull, and that's free on Apple TV. All these games, by the way, are on MLS Season Pass, so if you have that, then you're good to go. Montreal at Houston, that's on Apple TV, as well as MLS Season Pass. New England at Columbus, same thing. That's a 7:30 start. These are all 7:30 starts. Now let's move to the 8:30 starts. Austin is hosting DC. That is an 8:30 start. Apple TV, MLS Season Pass. Chicago, that's an 8:30 start. They're hosting Miami, and hopefully Lionel Messi back into the lineup tonight. That's a key game for Miami as they try to close the playoff gap as the season is beginning to wind down now. Dallas and Colorado face each other. That's another 8:30 start in Dallas. Nashville hosts Orlando. That also is an 8:30 start. All of these are, that one happens to be, by the way, on FS1. Okay, so it's on Apple TV and FS1. So that's Nashville, Orlando. That's an 8:30 start. Same thing for the doubleheader game, which starts at 10:30. That's LAFC taking on Minnesota in Los Angeles. So that's those two games, Nashville, Orlando, and LAFC and Minnesota are free on both FS1 and Apple TV. Okay, so then Seattle is also in Los Angeles, and that game's at 10:30 start, also free on Apple TV. And one more free game on Apple TV tonight. That's 10:30. Vancouver hosts St. Louis. Okay, so that way you know what's going on, and you'll be able to check things out from that standpoint. Okay, so all is good. All right, cool. So let's see here. Number of things to chat about. Now, for whatever reason, we got a hailstorm of questions on Twitter yesterday having to do with the new NBC deal with the Big Ten, and they're going to offer 30 games. So that's going to be a very interesting situation because for some reason a lot of you guys are like, I'm not so happy about this. Okay, we are not we're not streamers. Well, I understand what you're talking about, but at the end of the day, the the money was there, and that's where they put it. Now, that doesn't mean all of the Big Ten games are going to be on streaming on Peacock. It simply means they have a package of 33. The vast majority of the games will be on either CBS or Fox or the Big Ten Network. So there's a package there for everybody. And frankly, as a subscriber to Peacock, there's really a lot of sports on there already. They've got obviously that Sunday package, which they have an early Major League Baseball game every Sunday. They, of course, are the home to the Premier League. They do all of the Notre Dame games that are simulcast on NBC and on Peacock. They've got all of the NASCAR races for the second season, which is right now, the championship run. That's all streams on Peacock as well as on USA. So there's a ton of content there, including wrestling, by the way, if you're a wrestling fan. So it's a decent, it's a very good deal. And if you just want to, tip your toe into what streaming's like, Peacock, because of the other content they have, which is movies and TV series and all kinds of content in that realm, you're really getting a pretty decent deal. So I would suggest, before you pan it, give it a try and see how it goes. Again, you're still going to be able to see a ton of Big Ten games on what we might call legacy media, from CBS. And by the way, the CBS also, all their stuff is simulcast on Paramount Plus. So it's not like NBC is just doing something here. It is that Peacock is making a name for themselves by scoring its own, NFL playoff game, as well as regular season. There's 8 of them, 8 regular season Big Ten football games. So it only, when the deal was announced, this was really not hidden. It was right there. So, don't be colorblind. Give it a shot. Okay, I think that will be a lot. CBS now is going to present a total of 15 Big Ten games, and those games, as I said before, will air on CBS and Paramount Plus, including the first matchup of the season, which is Maryland hosting Michigan State, January 21st. That's a noon start. Okay, you want to start going your calendars. Be sure to note that is the first conference game. Obviously, those teams will play games prior to that, and they will be on, they will be on all of the outlets there. Strongly suggest you go to the Big Ten website. They have all this content here, so you can find out what games are being played where and where to watch them. Okay, so let's see what else we got going on with that. I think that's about what we got. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that go on. Okay, we know the Taylor Swift update is that she, of course, was at the Meadowlands to watch Travis Kelce, her buddy, enjoy a very good game as they went out and beat the Jets, the homestanding Jets. Now, that was worth an estimated 2 million women, okay? The numbers were staggering, and now these are overnights, okay? So let's see how things play out, all right, before we panic. But let's look at it this way. These are new fans to the NFL, so the NFL is about that, and literally see a glimpse of Taylor in a box with her friends and Travis Kelce's mom. So really kind of an interesting sidebar to it all. But the NFL on these early ratings, over 50%, all the key demographics, which goes from teens all the way up to women in their 40s and 50s, were tuned in to the game above, as I said, 50% more than the average watcher. Now, the average, it should be noted that Sunday night game on the Sunday night game on NBC is normally the highest rated television show of the week, and there's no reason to believe that that's not going to be the case here because they've got 27 million viewers, which is second only to the Super Bowl, which Fox had, it's in February. So there is tons to be happy about if you happen to be on the side of NBC and the NFL. Now, there is going to be some interesting numbers come out, and we're not sure if they're really going to come out in significant bits, but it's going to be interesting to find out how many season tickets, the NFL league, the NFL season ticket gets, because Kansas City doesn't play on national television every day, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, and we're going to continue to follow it. Now, let's get back for a moment to talking about Peacock. Now, much has been made of NBC adding Big Ten football games and basketball games to that platform. Inevitably, fans of those teams, most notably Ohio State, have lashed out at being forced to pay yet another streaming service to watch their games. Now, the breakup of the cable bundle has ultimately led to sports fans paying for a premium price for, needing a theoretical physics degree to try to figure out where the games are, how to get to them, and what they want to see. Now, I've been doing this now for 6 years. I find it really isn't that hard. Okay, if you have a cell phone and you have a smartphone with apps, it's no different. You just click on the app. The difference is, and then you can use, I used Sling when I mentioned it before. You can use that as a traditional cable situation because they have it laid out like in a grid, and you're going to get ESPN now, and the Big Ten network, and the Pac-12 network, and the ACC network, and the SEC network. So all your colleges are covered there. Now, with regard to Peacock, on Tuesday, as I said before, yesterday, they announced that they're going to go over 30 men's basketball games and over 20 women's basketball games exclusively on Peacock. But instead of, going out there and extra movies, they've decided to invest in sports. Now, last year's NCAA tournament, number one seed, we know, was Purdue, and they're going to lead the way with 6 appearances. Indiana, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Ohio State, and Minnesota all have 5 appearances. Michigan has 4 appearances. Marquee games like Purdue and Indiana, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Michigan, Michigan State, and the Big Ten tournament are exclusively on Peacock. Okay, so that's where they are on the women's side. Now, the one thing that there's nothing really to compare how Peacock will leverage the women's games. I mean, Iowa and Caitlin Clark will have 8 Peacock appearances, which is Hasler's exclusive schedule. It's clear that NBC is relying on Big Ten basketball as a major tentpole for Peacock in its bid to boost subscribers, but it is also the initial surge and strong push will be made, and it's going to be coming soon. Now, Big Ten fans should look for how NBC has covered the English Premier League in recent years for what might come down the pipeline. I say that because this week's major games feature the 2 top teams from last season, Arsenal versus Manchester City, and that's a Peacock exclusive. Now, soccer fans are very used to watching games on Peacock, on Paramount Plus, and also, of course, on ESPN Plus. So it's really, all we're doing right now is trying to get folks to understand where everything is, where's what Peacock has, what Paramount Plus has, what ESPN Plus has, what all the streamers have, and then how to decide whether or not it's content you want or need, okay? And then add it all up versus your cable bill, and you'll find out if it's worth it, Okay, so it just depends on where you are. It depends on what your content is that you want to see, what teams you follow, and how you follow them. So you can, we'll take you through that process and try to help you. And certainly, leave comments in the comment section. 100%, we'll answer them for you. We'll let you know. What are some of the best things to be doing, and what are some of the best services out there that you should give a try. Now, all of these services have a 7-day free trial, so you can test them out yourself and find out what fits you. Okay, this is not a one-size-fits-all situation. It is what your preference is. It's like you and I going to a restaurant and choosing from a menu. Okay, so I may choose something different than you. I may want to watch certain soccer versus your interest in NASCAR. Okay, so all of this comes down to making certain that you understand what it is that you want to see and where all of your games are going to be broadcast. So it's not difficult, and it's not intimidating. It's just different. Okay, you have to get into a situation where your mindset is looking at it from a different standpoint. It's not. It shouldn't be daunting. It shouldn't be totally difficult. It's just, as I said before, if you have apps on your smartphone and you use those apps all the time, you're familiar with it. Okay, that's exactly how. I use Roku, but you can use whatever you wish. It comes up. It pops right there. You just click it and click on it, and boom, find your game, and away you go. So is it a learning curve? Certainly it's a learning curve, but it's a learning curve that I think we're all trying to get into, and I don't think it's going to be as difficult as you may be thinking it is. And I would strongly, as I said before, I would strongly, before anything, take the time to test things out, to try it out, to find out if that's what you want to do, and certainly a subscription slinger to any of those cable-ish like groups is a nice transitional way to get to what you want. Now, Sling does not have local TV stations, so it doesn't have your ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS, but Paramount Plus does have CBS. A lot of the content, sports content for sure, is on live on Peacock, so that handles your NBC. Obviously, ESPN has Disney, but Fox is still not a streamer, so you're not going to get anything from Fox there. So my suggestion would be if local TV is your, if you want or need that too, there's two ways of going about it. There's a very easy way, and that is to get yourself an antenna. You can go to Amazon and get those. They're not expensive. Or you can go up to YouTube TV or Hulu TV Plus with everything, and they have those channels as well as all of your favorite cable channels. Okay, so everything is there for streamers. It's just a matter of when and how you're going to consume it. So that's what we got on that. Now, let's. There is some. There's some breaking news. A couple of things here. There's a couple of teams that, cities. We talked about expansion last week, right? And TV markets. We know that Salt Lake City and Vegas and Portland and Austin are kind of all wanting to get into the game in the West. And back east, it's it's Charlotte, it's Nashville, it's Montreal, and actually Southern Virginia, which I doubt is a real big player there. But I think where we're looking at now is if the Rays get their stadium set up passed, which could happen as before the end of the year, if that works, and it seems to be on track to work, and then they sort out the athletic situation in Oakland, one way or the other, then it looks like baseball wants to expand to 32 teams, and we'll get a better feel for what those additional teams are. But if you look right now, today is not when they're doing it, but today is today. Salt Lake City and Nashville are probably the two best suited cities to own a franchise for two reasons. One, they have ownership, and two, they have a stadium plan which has been okayed. So you're not going to have to wait for that situation to happen. That's not been the case in Montreal. It's not the case in Charlotte, although Charlotte is tempting to get to that point. Um, so we're there on that side. On the other side, on the west side, certainly Salt Lake is ready for it. They've got an ownership group. They've got everything in place to get one, a franchise and a stadium there. Vegas is kind of an outlier. We've seen how much they say they want the A's, but that's not necessarily true. I strongly recommend my buddy Bodie Brazil. If you're interested in what's going on with the A's, go to Bodie Brazil. He's on YouTube here, and check his videos out, and you'll get a really good feel for what's going on in that whole Oakland and Vegas setup. Okay, so check that stuff out. Let's go back and see if we can find some questions here, because going to the studio has been a little bit messy. All right, let's see what we got. Okay, and all right. The talk of the town here is we have Aaron who says he's talking about computer rankings and why when I look at computer rankings I don't see either as one or two. And we're talking now, I guess, about Oregon and Washington. Okay, well, the computer rankings or the votes do not necessarily always reflect who's the best team in sports. It simply is a situation where people who are now people who vote, be they sports writers or broadcasters or coaches, seem to think that right now the top teams in college sports are in football is Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and Texas, of course, and Florida State. I don't, if I had a vote, which I don't, I used to have a vote, but I don't have one now, I would definitely argue that Oregon and Washington should be 1-2 because of who they played and how well they played this. I mean, they just haven't beaten people. They've obliterated people. So I'm thinking that's the way it's going to go, but we'll see. We'll certainly see at the end of the day. But I do like the idea of Washington and Oregon running 1 and 2. Okie doke. Now, let's check what we got here from the gang. Okay, Bulldog, what do you got for me? In 4 years, all conferences will be streaming. And Apple, they will have a huge place in the game. Smart, Pac-12, schools smart. So you're basically saying, Bulldog, if I read what you're saying all conferences will be streaming. All conferences are streaming, by the way, right now. Not to the entirety of everything, but they are, they all have a streaming component to them. So it's not coming in 4 years, it's here. Now, if you're saying that they're all going to streaming, I didn't think it was, I think that the PAC overlooked the opportunity that they had with Apple TV, and I don't think they utilized it or leveraged it much. So, and then we've got Anery in Sacramento who says the Pac-12 deal sucked, less money, 100% streaming. Well, again, we don't know. It was not a tested situation. It's easy to sit out here and say, well, the deal was bad, or for whatever reason it wouldn't have worked, but it doesn't. What you're saying was never tested. So how do you know it didn't work or wouldn't work? Okay, I'm saying I was advocating that they give it a try. Why? Because they had very little in the way of options otherwise. So at the end of the day, you need to do what's best for you, right? And if they wanted to keep the conference together, they could have gotten Apple to bump things up. They could have gotten a linear partner that would have taken some of that inventory off their hands. So I'm not so sure that the Pac-12 deal was bad. As a matter of fact, I don't think it was bad. But I don't think that the people who were in charge were very forward thinking. So, at the end of the day, I'm going to stop saying that. I'm going to write that down. Don't say more at the end of the day. So, going forward, it's going to be a very interesting situation. Apple, by the way, may not be as keen on college sports for a while because it looks like they want to go all in on Formula One, and I think that's going to be a very, very interesting, situation. All right, what you got? Tom Kaczynski. I predicted I predicted this 20 years ago. Okay, Nostradamus, you. I watched as the former big dishes failed the same way, not streaming, bit a la carte, same deal. The big dishes failed. They didn't fail. The big dishes didn't fail. What happened is the evolution of satellite television allowed for a smaller dish, which we see now, about the size of maybe a hubcap, and so you didn't have to have that massive, what we used to. There was C-band, which were the larger dishes. You didn't have to have that now, and as a matter of fact, satellite dishes are now even some obsolete because you can get things via cable, you can get things via streaming. You don't necessarily have to have a satellite dish on the roof to get everything. So, and most of them are DirecTV or Dish Network, and certainly the DirecTV deal is something that's quite interesting because the DirecTV deal does include streaming services in their packages. So that's not something a consumer can buy, but it is something that can be gotten on the market. So not a bad situation from that standpoint. But I don't think. I mean, I know that you would. I know that you are saying that the big dishes failed, but they didn't fail. They just evolved to smaller dishes. And streaming is a bit of an a la carte same deal, and you don't think that's going to last. And I think that the trend is going in that direction. I hate streaming sports, Casey. That was a very easy response. End Zone Podcast. Not such that I would unfollow anyone who doesn't agree with me. Someday, okay, well, that's something, little inside stuff there. Okay, Boiler Cat. It's good to see you, Bowler Cat, I'm sorry. All streaming is not acceptable landing spots for the cats that he's talking about, Arizona. Literally every one of the options in the Pac-12 came to the same conclusion. So, in other words, only stupid people like me, meaning him, believe in fairy tales like that, not college administrations, and also, it would kill the recruiting out west. I couldn't agree with you more on that, but that's another conversation for another day. All right. Now, B-Man wants to know if, Heisman, who's the Heisman Trophy winner this year? Is Caleb Williams in position to win, a second one? It's early to say, but the numbers that are being put up by Michael Penix Jr. at Washington, and of course Bo Nix at Oregon, make Caleb Williams, they're all in that same conversation. Right now, I would be thinking that the top vote getter might be Michael Penix from Washington. But, look, there's a long season left to go. Caleb Williams and USC is going to have numerous opportunities to prove themselves. And so I wouldn't count them out. I definitely wouldn't count him out. But if I had a vote right now, it would go to Michael Penix Jr. at Washington. So, yeah, for what it's worth, right? All right. Jordan Moore. I said back in the summer, and I'll say it again, conference expansion will eventually lead to sports being streamed exclusively. It's coming. Cable subscribers are cutting the cord at record rates. Well, they are, but I don't think cable will ever go away. I think the bottom out number is probably going to be 50%. It's 74% now. So there's going to be mix and match. There's going to be the opportunity for, if cable is something you like and it works for you, good on you. It'll be fine. If cutting the cord and going to streaming is something you like I did, 5-6 years ago, then once you get past the process and figuring out how to do it, it's fine. So I like the streaming aspect, and it's cheaper than what a cable bill would be. Justin, what do you got for me? He just hates it. Okay, fair enough. Short and to the point. Peacock is not. We got another person who says Peacock is just. Are they carrying every single Big Ten basketball game? Or no, they're not. And I wrote that in the comments yesterday. Nobody wants to see the league anyway. That's not fair, Trey. A lot of people do. Right. Here's the Utah Ute fans. Cable sucks. Got the cord cut like anyone. Go build your own package with $40 a month. You'll have so much more content than cable. So, okay, there's an endorsement for that. Our buddy Evan Weiner wrote a column, which I strongly suggest you look up. Deion Sanders is worth $90 million in invisible money, and he talks about how much money Deion and the Colorado sports team, in this particular case the football team, the Colorado team, does and gets into that. So 100% check out the money he's bringing in. Mo Olson says that he hopes that Apple and Amazon will take an interest in the Mountain West contract when that contract expires in a couple of years. I wouldn't be surprised if either one or the other or both kick the tires on the Mountain West, especially if Oregon State and Washington State end up there. A lot of BYU fans are shouting out that they beat Arkansas 38-31, deep in the SEC country. Yeah, it's a big win for BYU, but you shouldn't be surprised. BYU has over the years played pretty well. Okay, Moon Doggy, what you got? I have Peacock and Max. I much prefer Peacock, and it's half the price of Max. But then I'm more into sports and movies. HBO lost most of the long-time first-run deals, meaning the movies, and not so much. And now not so much reality shows. So I'm a fan of those. Discovery isn't my thing. However, Peacock and Max have served me well, and I'm very happy about them. Okay, I have them both, and Moon Doggy, I'm with you on this. It's not bad. It is a fun thing. All right, I'm going to give Danny Gruenberg the last conversation here in the last question. This is absolute BS. He's not happy, clearly. The Big Ten and Ohio State. What a way to take advantage of the fans, trying to price gouge them with another BS streaming service. Peacock, when does it end? Well, no time soon, Dan. Absolutely no time soon. And look, when the Big Ten made the deal, it was heralded. Everybody was excited. Everybody was gung ho for it. And now we see that we're split like in half and half. Some people like it. Some people don't like it. It is what it is, guys. It totally is what it is. All right. It's been fun, and it's been real, and we've been doing this now for about half an hour, and we've answered a lot of questions. Remember, a couple things. All right. Baseball, same as it was yesterday. the American League playoffs, ABC and ESPN. In the afternoon and the evening, goes to ESPN exclusively when they start dealing with the National League wild card. Okay, so first one up is Tampa Bay and Texas. That game's 3:08 on ABC. Then we scoot on over to Minnesota for the Toronto-Minnesota game. That is at 4:38 on ESPN. Nightcap is Arizona-Milwaukee. That's a 7:08 start on ESPN2. And the Phillies entertain the Marlins at the Bank. That one is on ESPN. And as we know, Texas has the 1-0 lead over Tampa Bay. Minnesota came from behind to win that game yesterday, over Toronto. So they're up one game over them. Arizona lost to Milwaukee. That puts the Brew Crew in, and these are all elimination games because they won. Philadelphia can eliminate Miami tonight with that game starting on ESPN at 8:08. Full slate of MLS games. Some of them you can watch for free on Amazon Plus. All of it on the League Pass if you have MLS League Pass, and two of them on FS1. So we talked about that as well. All right, gang. Time to get out of here. Have a wonderful day. It's been a pleasure being with you today, and we shall return.